All right. Welcome back in, you guys, to One Piece chapter 1158. The full spoilers have dropped, and we're here to talk about them. So, just in case you have not read the spoilers for yourself yet, I will be linking it down in the pinned comment, as well as typing it out piece by piece, so feel free to check it out there if that's all you're here for. But here today, we're here to have a little chatter, right? We're here to have some fun with it, and of course, the best part about the chapter that we have to start with is the Gecko Moria reveal. Yeah, so I didn't realize how confusing this would be for some people, and I understand it, right? Learning that Gecko Moria, the goofball that we all know, love, or hate, is actually Kozuki is pretty shocking. Especially when we're looking at his grave site as well. So I do want to touch on that a little bit and how this could all work out, or how Oda might play it out in the future. So, as far as why he has a grave here, I think that's pretty simple. The people of Wano believe that he is dead, when in reality, he's not. And this right here, I think, could be explained pretty easily, right? Gecko Moria is an elusive man. He has the ability of the Kage Kage no Mi. He can easily switch places with his shadow. He can detach his shadow. And of course, if Absalom was a part of his crew back then Absalom could simply touch Moria, and then he will just turn invisible, kind of like how he turned invisible during Marineford and how he escaped Doflamingo and the Pacifistas. So I think that is one of the main reasons why the people of Wano think that his body was obliterated, when in reality he simply just fled the island. So now, as far as why they think he's still dead, despite him being vehemently alive and being one of the Shishibukai, that can be explained because Wano is a closed-off country. Despite Moria potentially being in the headlines and in tomorrow's papers, Wano will not see any of that, right? Wano has no clue what the Shishibukai even are. I mean, hell, most of the people in Wano believe that devil fruit powers are just ninjutsu. So yeah, them not knowing about Gecko Moria being out and about, I think does also make sense. So, as far as Kozuki Moria goes, how the hell is he a part of the Kozuki clan? That is a very valid question, and for that one, I do not have too many answers. I do have theories about that, though. And the first theory is that he's not actually a true Kozuki, and instead, he was just adopted into the family. I think that could explain the name right there, and why he looks so different than his counterparts, right? He doesn't look like Odin, he doesn't look like Momonosuke, Hiyori, or even Sukiyaki. Moria, he's the black sheep of the family, right? In terms of bloodline, if they are connected like that. So it could just be that he's adopted. But where this gets wishy-washy is how was he brought into Wano in the first place? Because based on what we know of about this hero, about Kozuki Moria, is that he was born in the West Blue, and then they were brought all the way to Wano, to Ringo specifically, and then they just lived their life there for the most part. So yeah, maybe he started off as Gecko Moria, he somehow came all the way to Wano, and then he was adopted into the Kozuki family. That is possible. It is kind of a stretch in my opinion. It's just so hard to believe that a kid made it all the way here in the New World and was just raised by one of the wealthiest families about. Like, that just seems crazy to me. So another route that I really enjoy is that he is an actual Kozuki. He does have that bloodline in him, and that could work. Because remember, guys, remember that Zoro is actually a Shimotsuki. Zoro has Shimotsuki blood within him. He has the blood of Ryuma flowing through his veins. He doesn't know it, though. And the reason this is possible is because 55 years ago, samurai from Wano, I think they said 12 or 13 families, they left Wano and were spread around the blues, right? With Zoro's lineage in particular, settling in the East Blue. So another family, potentially an offside branch of the Kozuki clan, could have settled in the West Blue, and that is how Gecko Moria was born. As far as why he looks like an abomination, you know, don't look at me for that one. I have no clue what Oda's cooking up with Gecko Moria's design in terms of that, but I think he could genuinely be a real member of the Kozuki clan. Maybe he heard about his family and he wanted to go back home, so that is why, as a kid, he went all the way to Wano to meet the other side of his family, and yeah, there we have it. As far as why people think he's a hero, of course, that's because he tried to fight Kaido in Ringo, right? Apparently, according to the lore here, this pirate try to stop Kaido from attacking Ringo. That is where Gecko Moria fought Kaido. So it all works out, and it's kind of been in our faces this whole time, right? Of course, if you are, not Japanese, if you haven't seen the kanji or katakana, this might not make the most sense, but apparently Gecko is just inverse of Kozuki as well. So it looks like Moria just took his real name of Kozuki, flipped it upside down, and then he got Gecko. Why he did this, I have no clue. Maybe it's because he felt shameful that he couldn't protect his homeland, so that's why he denounced his name, which kind of makes sense, right? That would make him a lot more tragic. Like, I'm a failure of the Kozuki clan. I'm a Kozuki that could not defend my homeland. I do not deserve this name. I'm flipping it around. I could see that being the case, and of course, like I said, the Moria stocks, man, they're just going up and up and up. Because if he is a genuine member of the Kozuki clan, hell, even if he was adopted into the Kozuki clan, he should know how to read the poneglyphs. He should know how to inscribe the poneglyphs. Gecko Moria stocks, brother, they're going up! Oh, dude, I love it. I love it. I love it. And of course, this could also help explain how he was able to get his hands on Jigoro's corpse as well as Ryuma's corpse, which I do wonder how the people of Wano would feel about that. A lot of people brought that up in the comments yesterday. But yes, Gecko Moria, while he is a hero, he did rob Wano of a national treasure and a national body. So I wonder how they'd feel about that. Maybe they'd give him a pass though, right? One hero defiling the gravesite of another hero, maybe that like breaks even somewhere. I'm not too sure, but yeah. I love though the epithet that they give Moria here. It doesn't just say Kozuki Moria, it says Kozuki Moria, the Pirate of Justice. Moria? Dude, what? Yeah. Moria, man. If he just beat Kaido back in the day, I swear, we'd have a completely different Moria on our hands. Hell, we might have come to Wano with the Straw Hats, and it would have been happy. Imagine that. Imagine we get to Wano, no Kaido, no nothing, no fighting, just a happy Gecko Moria and his family. That is a great timeline, but of course, that did not happen. Also, another thing to keep in mind too, when you think about the timeline of when Moria fought Kaido, that is when Odin was around. Odin was dancing in the streets naked while Moria was defending his village. Bro, if Moria and Odin teamed up, I think they would have beat Kaido. I know you might be saying, Sai, that's blasphemous, but think about how hard Odin pushed Kaido. Now imagine Prime Moria there too. Brother, they might have won. Moria had an entire pirate crew too. Oh man, that's painful. That is it for the Moria talk. I said I'd only go about this for like a minute. I think it's been like 5 or 6, but apologies for that one. I just had to get that off my chest. Like I said, the more I think about the Moria plotline, the happier I get. Unironically, I haven't ranked all the reveals in One Piece yet. I think eventually I'll go back and, go through all the big reveals. I think this would be top 5. Definitely not like top 1, 2, 3, but I think this would be among the top 5 just because of how unpredictable this was and how crazy this is. The implications of Kozuki Moria, brother. What? We need this man to pick up a sword. Dude, Zoro, wake up! There's another chief in town. Another swordsman you have to take down. So, on to the chapter now. We start off with the Roger Pirates. They are unhappy that Shaggy quit the Kuja Pirates, so they want to go pay her a visit over on Hachinosu. And then, according to the spoilers, we cut over right after that. So, apologies. I kind of built that up and I'm like, hey, Roger Pirates, and now we're leaving. The next thing we see in this chapter is Garling. And back then, believe it or not, he was not the supreme commander of the Holy Knights. He was just simply a Holy Knight. And in this chapter, he is talking to the Gorosei at Marie-Joie, and he tells them about God Valley, and how he stayed there for a short while during one of his missions. And he explained that he tried to convince them to join the world government, but they did not budge. They did not want to join. They possess a lot of resources there that are extremely valuable to the government. And on top of that, Garling made an incredible discovery. He says, it was something I didn't expect at all. I am certain that the Great One will be pleased. Henceforth, I strongly recommend the tournament in 2 years to be hosted in God Valley. So, we could sit here and speculate what Garling might have discovered, but we'll save that for the end of this video because I think what we talk about later is going to be really important. So now, we cut back over to Hachinosu. We see Shaki's bar has become a neutral zone for a lot of pirates. You cannot fight in her bar whatsoever, or else you will incur the wrath of pretty much everybody, I'm assuming. We see that the Rocks pirates are chilling there, and Rock seems really happy. So much so that a lot of the pirates think that it's kind of suspicious. But they do spill the beans that Rocks indeed has found another woman. And Stussy adds to that, saying that he's so happy, in fact, that he possibly even has a child. Which, of course, we know that by this point in time, he does have Blackbeard, so yes, that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, we don't get to see the woman that Rocks fell in love with. I wonder where she's at. I wonder if this is kind of like a Yasop situation, where Yasop is in Syrup Village 1 minute, and then he just never comes back home. Or I wonder if Rocks constantly pays visits to her. Maybe she lives in Hachinosu. We're not too sure. We don't see her in this chapter. But yeah, because the pirates spill the beans on this, Rocks gets a little bit upset because he said that this was supposed to be top secret. Whitebeard doesn't understand what the hell is going on because he's a little bit oblivious, which makes sense, right? It kind of goes back to the whole Whitebeard chatter of, does Whitebeard know that Blackbeard is Rocks' son, or did he not know? Personally, I'm cool either way, right? If Whitebeard did know, it wouldn't really change anything. Considering Whitebeard's character is all about not holding the sins of the father over the child's head, yeah, it could go either way, brother. But in this chapter, they do depict Whitebeard being very unobservant when it comes to his captain's shenanigans. So, we see that the Roger Pirates indeed have shown up to Hachinosu, and that is when Roger confronts Rocks. And Rocks says, Roger, how many times do I have to tell you that this is my island? Roger says, and this is Shaki's bar. No fighting amongst customers. Stop yapping, you porcupine. Shaki then butts into the conversation and asks Roger and his crew, where is Rayleigh? Rayleigh decided to stay on the ship, and then Shaki ends up passing out, and that's pretty much it. So it looks like Roger and Rocks, they don't like each other, but they don't hate each other, right? It seems like a middle ground, right? It seems like they are kind of like rivals at this point in time. As far as why Roger decided to come here, I'm assuming it's just because he wanted to see Shaki and if she's all right. Which is kind of funny, right? I thought Roger was coming here to take her back or to fight Rocks. But no, Roger really just came here and just insulted Rocks and hanged out. So it's pretty cool to see. Next up, we cut over to the underworld. And this is where things get kind of sad. I will admit, this one I'm just like heartbroken over. But we see that Rocks and Harald are indeed fighting. Harald took the bait of the WG. And he is fighting Rocks in order to get that world government spot. Of course, Harald is very hesitant because this is his friend, right? Despite Rocks and Harald not having the best relationship out there, despite it being kind of one-sided, Harald does still view Rocks as a friend, and because of that, he cannot fully commit to killing him. And based on the spoilers, it seems like neither does Rocks, right? They're fighting, but they're not trying to kill each other. So that is why in this chapter, they both knocked each other out, and the fight does end in a draw. It's really sad. You know, Rocks, he goes on, and by the end of this fight, he says, this marks the end of our friendship, Harald. I will never invite you again. And Harald, you know, doesn't even say I'm sorry. He just says, I'm the king. I would never risk the lives of my precious subjects by joining a villain destined for failure like you. Which, you know, Rocks is a villain, right? Rocks is causing havoc among the seas. He's not exactly a saint, so I get why Harald wouldn't want to side with him. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But just fighting him, though, you know, that's far, brother. That's far. But I respect it, though, right? Harald is looking towards the future. Harald does want what's best for Elbaf, and in his eyes, it has always been a spot within the world government, because that would ally him with so many other nations, that would give Elbaf a lot of supplies guaranteed in the future. But of course, there is a big dark side to that, which he probably doesn't know yet, right? Does Harald truly know about the nature of celestial dragons, the Gorsi and Emu? There's a good chance he doesn't, right? He's just looking at all the positives instead of the negatives, which I can't blame him for that. But like I said, it hurts the heart to see two friends fight like this, right? Even though they're not trying to kill each other, it's like, guys, please. Please. The narrator says that this bizarre friendship between these two characters ended without a victor. and they will not meet again until the day of that incident. Ominous. What does that actually mean? Does that mean that Harald is going to simply read the newspaper about rocks and that's when they meet again? Or does Harald go to God Valley? Because what the narrator is essentially saying is that they meet one final time, and they just put it in quotation marks saying that incident. That could mean so many things. That could mean God Valley or an event prior to God Valley. Hell, it could even mean after God Valley. We do not know. You know, Oda is leaving that a little bit ambiguous for now. So, of course, because Rox is no longer coming to Elbaf, Loki gets really sad. He waits on the coast day after day for Rox to return. Because Loki is so sad in this period, he then begins talking to Ida and opening up his feelings towards her, which I think is great. I can't wait to see that part of the chapter. You know, Loki, Ida. It's essentially the mother that he never had. Which, of course, you know, we've been asking this question for a while now. But what the hell happens to Ida? You know, she's too good for the story right now. She's too great. So eventually, she's probably just gonna get killed or kidnapped. We'll see, though. So now, back to God Valley. We're now 39 years in the past, 1 year prior to the rabbit hunting tournament. And we see something crazy. We see a red-haired woman with 2 babies named Shanks and Shamrock. And they are straight chillin' without a father. What? Is this person the grand and unbelievable discovery that Garling talked about earlier in this chapter? I think so. You know, yesterday, I thought that it was an ancient weapon, maybe a devil fruit, or perhaps some ancient void sentry technology, but no, it could just be this girl. And the reason why I didn't think about this is because yesterday, the spoilers put Garling and this woman in the same paragraph. So I was like, okay, like they're together, right? Garling and this girl, they're side by side. So yeah, he knows her. That's his wife, or that's a celestial dragon, or a slave, or yada yada. But no, here in the full spoilers, we get the full context of everything, and this woman is just by herself without Garling. So what is going on here? I think there's a couple of things, a couple of routes we could go down, kind of like the Gecko Moria one. This one's a little bit dicey. So one way we could look at it is that the father that is absent is, of course, Garling. Maybe Garling came here a year ago, which he did. He, you know, made copious amounts of love with this lady, and then she ended up giving birth to twins. The timeline fits, the age fits. I think that could be the case, and that's why when we saw Shamrock, it said son of Garling. That would make a lot of sense. Or another way we could look at it is that this woman really does have an absent husband and will never see him, and the celestial dragons come by, kill the lady, take the kids, and then later on, Shamrock gets adopted by Garling, which is why he is the son of Shamrock. I'm not too sure which one I like more yet. So now, as far as why this lady is very special, there are, again, a couple of routes we could go down. It could be that she comes from a special family, or maybe the red hair means something in the grand scheme of things. Or perhaps they just saw the babies and that she was pregnant, and then Garling was like, whoa, she's about to give birth to the child of destiny, right? This could give more context to what we heard about at the beginning of this flashback, where Shanks is referred to as such. Maybe Shanks and Shamrock are the children of destiny, and it's not singular, it's plural, right? There could be 2 of them, and that is what Imu is interested in. Maybe it's like a reincarnation of somebody from the Void Century again, you know, going back to that. So yeah, I think this is really curious. And if that is the case, I wonder who else knows about this. Like, would Rox know about the Child of Destiny? Would Roger know about that? Or was it just a happy coincidence that everybody just ended up on this island for Shaki? I am kind of, you know, wondering about all that right now. And hey, all I gotta say is that now things are making a lot more sense as to why Shanks was in the treasure chest at God Valley. It's because he was a prize. And of course, if Garling isn't truly the dad, then yeah, maybe Garling was trying to win these kids, and that's why he eventually got Shamrock, because he was the champion of God Valley, so he did get one of the red-haired kids. And then, of course, Roger ended up picking the other one, which was Shanks. So yeah, there's a lot of cool things here, And I am now expecting Shamrock, just like Shanks, to be stuffed into another treasure chest during the rabbit hunting tournament. But yes, that is it for today, guys. That's enough yapping for now. Let me know what you thought about this chapter down below. How do you feel about Shanks and Shamrock? Is Garling the biological dad, or is he simply just the adoptive dad, and he's the one who won Shamrock? Gotta know all your thoughts down below. What makes this woman so special? What do you think about Gecko Moria? How do you feel about the King Harald portion, where he betrayed Rox for the world government? And also, Rox and Roger's relationship. A little bit odd, but they seem like fun rivals, I think. Let me know all those thoughts and theories down below. In the next couple of days, we will be going through the comment section and reading what you guys have to say. So make sure to drop your comment down below so we can check that out later. And yeah. With that being said, you guys take care and stay safe, brother.